Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. The world's top decision-making body on cultural and natural heritage has officially begun its annual meeting in Busan. This is the first time that South Korea is hosting the meeting since it joined the UNESCO World Heritage Convention almost 4 decades ago, in 1988. Tensions are escalating in the Middle East after a U.S. service member was killed in an Iranian attack in northern Iraq. This comes just a day after an attack on a base in Jordan killed 2 American service members and left another missing. Spain defeated Argentina 1-0 to win the World Cup for the second time in its history. After a full 90 minutes without a goal, Ferran Torres found a breakthrough in extra time to seal the victory. We begin this morning in South Korea's port city of Busan, where the world's top decision-making body on cultural and natural heritage has officially begun its annual meeting. For the first time since joining the World Heritage Convention in 1988, South Korea is hosting the UNESCO World Heritage Committee, bringing together delegates from around the globe. Our culture correspondent Choe starts us off.
The 48th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee officially opened in Busan on Sunday, marking the first time South Korea has hosted the organization's annual meeting. Nearly 3,000 delegates from 196 UN member states, as well as international organizations and NGOs, are taking part in the 10-day session at Bexco. The opening ceremony showcased Korea's cultural heritage through performances inspired by traditional rituals and dances.
It is meaningful that this session is hosted by the Republic of Korea. The country counts 17 properties inscribed on the World Heritage List, reflecting the depth of Korean history and diversity. Together, your sites speak to universal questions: how societies remember, how they live with nature, how they transmit knowledge.
K-pop artist G-Dragon, serving as honorary ambassador for the committee, also called on the international community to work together to protect heritage threatened by conflict and climate change.
Protecting heritage is not simply about preserving the past. It's about building peace for the future. I believe art, too, can play a powerful role in protecting the world heritage of tomorrow.
Beginning on Monday, delegates will begin reviewing 33 proposals, including 30 new nominations and 3 requests to modify existing World Heritage listings. One of those requests is South Korea's proposal to expand the Ketbal, Korean tidal flats World Heritage Site. The delegates will also discuss the proposed Busan Declaration, which aims to add collaboration to UNESCO's existing 5 strategic priorities of credibility, conservation, capacity building, communication, and community. Over the next 10 days, this venue will become the center of discussions on the future of World Heritage. Delegates from nearly 200 nations will review on how existing sites are being protected, decide on new heritage sites, and tackle critical threats like the climate crisis. Choe, Arirang News, Busan.
So as UNESCO's World Heritage Committee opened its annual session in Busan, President Lee Jae-myung promised to cooperate with the international community to defend world heritage and peace. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
Working toward a peaceful future through global solidarity during times of division. That was the core message by President Lee Jae-myung speaking at the opening ceremony of the 48th session of the World Heritage Committee on Sunday in Busan. He took note of this year's meeting taking place in South Korea as UNESCO commemorates the 150th anniversary of the birth of independence activist Baekbom Kim-gu, adding that his recognition of culture and peace aligns with UNESCO's spirit of constructing the defenses of peace.
높은 문화의 힘을 바탕으로 인류의 소중한 유산을 함께 지키고 세계의 평화와 번영에 기여하는 나라로 백범 선생의 뜻을 이어가겠습니다.
The president also highlighted the remarkable economic growth Korea has achieved through international cooperation, noting that it has transformed itself into a cultural powerhouse that connects with people around the world.
원조를 받던 나라에서 원조를 하는 나라로 나아가 문화의 가치를 함께 나누는 나라로 성장한 우리 대한민국의 여정은 협력과 연대가 만들어낸 인류 공동의 성공 사례라고 자부합니다.
He called the country's southeastern city of Busan a living proof of how international cooperation can change the destiny of a city, saying that the city has risen from the ashes of the Korean War and grown into a global maritime city. On Sunday, Yi and UNESCO Director General Khalid Al-Anani discussed bolstering the partnership between Korea and UNESCO, noting cooperation in the areas of education, culture, and science. The UNESCO chief toured the K Heritage House exhibition hall along with President Yi and First Lady Kim Hae-kyung. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Over in the Middle East, the breakdown of last month's ceasefire has triggered a fresh wave of attacks across the region. Washington and Tehran are now trading increasingly far-reaching strikes, with reports of more U.S. casualties. Oh Soo-young reports.
A U.S. service member has been killed in northern Iraq while disposing of an unexploded Iranian attack drone. U.S. Central Command says the service member died Saturday during the controlled detonation of ordnance carried by the downed one-way drone. The incident came after 2 other American service members were killed in an Iranian attack in Jordan on Friday. Another was reported missing, although unidentified remains have since been recovered and are being examined. The latest casualties bring the number of U.S. troops killed since the war began in February to 17, with more than 420 wounded. In Iran, according to the country's health authorities, at least 50 people have been killed and more than 500 injured in U.S. strikes over the past 3 weeks. Strikes between the U.S. and Iran reached an 8th consecutive night. U.S. Central Command says the operation targeted coastal surveillance and air defense facilities, aiming to weaken Iran's ability to threaten commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz and punish Revolutionary Guard forces for the attack in Jordan. But Tehran says one of the strikes hit the construction site of the Darkover nuclear power plant in the southwestern province of Khuzestan. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization says the site was struck by several projectiles early Sunday, condemning the attack as a violation of international law and vowing to pursue those responsible. The United States has yet to confirm it targeted the facility. The International Atomic Energy Agency says it is investigating the report. The UN watchdog says the plant remains at a very early stage of construction and contained no nuclear material, meaning there is no radiological risk. Iran, meanwhile, has continued its retaliation across the region. Tehran says it attacked American military assets at 2 bases in Kuwait, while Kuwait reported another strike on a desalination facility. Bahrain intercepted a separate Iranian attack, and Jordan says it shot down 3 missiles. The escalation follows the collapse of an interim ceasefire reached last month. With U.S. strikes extending deeper into Iran, Tehran attacking American forces and Washington's regional partners, and both sides confronting shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, concerns continue over the cycle of retaliation across the region. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
And now for more on the latest situation in the Middle East, we're joined today by Professor Mohammad Gura, Professor of Middle East Economics at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Professor Gura, thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure.
So the U.S. military says a service member was killed after an Iranian attack in northern Iraq, and this comes a day after an attack in Jordan killed 2 U.S. soldiers. So how might these attacks affect the course of this war going forward?
Well, already the U.S. media and the U.S. government is saying that it's retaliating against such kind of aggression. So the U.S. is using this more or less as an alibi to continue its strikes on Iran. We have to remember it's now 9 days since this wave of strikes. U.S. will not stop soon. And actually, to be honest with you, nobody knows what's the end game for the U.S. With these strikes, President Trump said that he's trying to push Iran to sit on the negotiating table. But still, it's not really clear what's the end game. And the problem is that this kind of conflict between the 2 sides, it can lead to miscalculations, which can lead to a full-fledged conflict and more war in the near future. So we have to wait and see what will happen. But considering the killing of the U.S. soldiers, I think this kind of attacks and this kind of casualties will continue to increase on both sides. Of course, Iran is suffering more, but we'll have to wait and see what will happen the next few days.
Right, and Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei says Trump's signature is worthless and invalid, and accused the U.S. of repeatedly violating the deal signed last month. So what does this tell us about Iran's thinking?
That's a great question. Actually, we have to remember that usually the Iran Supreme Leader so far, his speeches and his rhetoric is usually aimed at the domestic public. So he's sending a message that he's still there, that he's still capable of communicating, that he's still on top of things. Also, one other thing is that they want peace, they want negotiations. They are saying that Trump's signature is worthless and invalid. So that means that Iran wants to go for diplomacy. But the thing is, it's not really clear if Iran really wants to do this. I mean, at the same time, the strikes against Arab and Gulf countries is actually increasing. So Iran is giving two rhetoric at the same time, two speeches, one with war and another trying to get into diplomacy. It's very frustrating, to be honest, but again, this is the sign of times, it seems.
Right. And Kuwait says one of its main facilities was hit in an Iranian strike. And I understand this damaged one of the key sources of drinking water in that small desert nation. So how serious is this, both for Kuwait and for the broader regional economy?
This is absolutely serious. We have to remember that 90% of water, drinking water and water for Kuwait is coming from desalination. So this kind of attacks is really very, very hard to accept. And to be honest with you, I've been following Arab media and Gulf media. There is huge amount of fury and rage against Iran. It's not really clear why Iran is trying to do this. Of course, they are trying to do this to send a message that U.S. cannot protect you and so on. But if Iran wants to do this, why do you want to shoot your allies? I mean, Oman and Jordan and Kuwait and so on. So far, we didn't get any problems with them. You know, if you're, and Arabs are saying, if you are so powerful, why don't you try to hit Israel instead? So there is huge amount of rage, huge amount of saddened emotions towards Iran. And I think the situation will start to increase from now on to a series of problems that we cannot stop. So we will have to wait and see what will happen.
I see. And for countries outside the Middle East, one of the biggest concerns is the energy concerns. So how do you see the situation around the Strait of Hormuz unfolding from here?
Unfortunately, this is bad news for everybody. So far, we have to remember that the oil prices, although it increased significantly, but the amount of increase is not yet what we have estimated. And when I was talking about I'm saying economists. Economists estimated that the amount of increase in prices is much more than that. This is because mainly this price did not increase because China cut off its imports of oil. Also, OPEC countries increased their exports of oil, but this kind of behavior is not sustainable. We have to remember this. The oil prices, if the war continues to be like that, if the conflict continues to be like that, it will increase tremendously, and it will affect everybody here in Korea, in the Middle East, in Iran, in US, in Europe. So this is bad news for everybody. This inflation wave will really hit us very hard by the fall if this kind of conflict will stop. So we have to hope that this kind of conflict stops, that negotiations start, that we have a new page, that we have a new start. But so far, things are a little bit on the downside. So I just hope that things are getting better in the future.
Right. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Professor Gura, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
A major fire at a Coupang logistics center in the city of Incheon remains ablaze for a third day, with crews facing the risk of the building collapsing. According to the Incheon Fire Department, the fire at a Coupang logistics center has remained active for more than 47 hours as of 6 a.m. on Monday. The blaze began on the 6th floor shortly before 7 a.m. on Saturday. Authorities have deployed 812 personnel and 231 vehicles, but flammable materials and the building's complex interior are hampering efforts. An evacuation order covers businesses and factories within 160 meters of the center's ramp area. Meanwhile, 168 residents have taken shelter at 2 nearby schools due to smoke and dust concerns. 31 nurseries and a nearby primary school have also been advised to close for the day. Russian President Vladimir Putin met North Korean Foreign Minister Choe during her visit to Russia on Saturday. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said Putin thanked North Korea's leadership once again for supporting what Moscow called a special military operation in Ukraine, saying the contributions of North Korean troops would never be forgotten by Russia. Putin also thanked Choe to convey his warm regards to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, saying he highly values the strong mutual understanding the two leaders have built. Choe, meanwhile, said Kim has reaffirmed his strategic commitment to further expanding ties with Russia. It's Choe's first visit to Russia in about 9 months, following her previous visit in October last year. Spain defeated Argentina 1-0 on Sunday to win the 2026 FIFA World Cup. The win marks Spain's second World Cup title. The final also saw both actress Son-hui and global K-pop group BTS make an appearance. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
Spain defeated Argentina 1-0 at the New York, New Jersey Stadium on Sunday to win the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Spain controlled the match from start to finish, preventing Argentina from having a single shot on target. The defensive masterclass was a fitting end to a remarkable campaign in which Spain conceded just 1 goal throughout the tournament. However, the decisive moment came in the 106th minute of extra time when Ferran Torres found a breakthrough against a 10-man Argentina, sealing a 1-0 victory and Spain's World Cup triumph. The World Cup victory marked Spain's second title, having previously won the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. Meanwhile, actress Son-hui and K-pop supergroup BTS made appearances at the 2026 FIFA World Cup final. Chung took part in the pre-match trophy presentation as a global ambassador for Louis Vuitton, appearing alongside Spanish tennis star Carlos Alcaraz. The pair opened the Louis Vuitton trophy case before unveiling the FIFA World Cup trophy to the crowd. At halftime, BTS took the stage as one of the performers in the tournament's first ever World Cup final halftime show, sharing the spotlight with global stars including Madonna, Justin Bieber, and Shakira. The group energized the stadium with a performance of its hit song Dynamite. Member Jungkook also marked a World Cup milestone, having performed Dreamers, the official soundtrack of the 2022 Qatar World Cup, at the 2022 opening ceremony, before returning 4 years later to perform at the final on Sunday. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. Andy Burnham takes office as Britain's Prime Minister on Monday, replacing Keir Starmer as leader of the governing Labour Party. Burnham, the former mayor of Greater Manchester, was declared Labour leader on Friday after running unopposed to replace Starmer, who resigned after 2 years following a fall in popularity and a rebellion within his own party. Burnham will be Britain's 7th Prime Minister since 2016. His office says one of his first moves will be scrapping a planned digital ID scheme originally designed to curb illegal migration and redirecting the funding toward cost of living support. In Peru, at least 6 people have been killed and 21 injured after 2 earthquakes struck a mountainous region on Saturday night. The quakes hit Chupaca province in the Junin region, about 300 kilometers east of Lima. Peru's National Seismological Center measured them at magnitudes 5.1 and 3.7, while the European Mediterranean Seismological Center reported the first at magnitude 5.6. Peru's civil defense head said about 48 homes have been destroyed and another 18 damaged, affecting roughly 300 people who are being sheltered in tents. Emergency crews were clearing debris Sunday amid concern that more victims could be trapped. In the U.S., social media influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate have been arrested after British prosecutors brought 38 new charges against them, including rape and human trafficking. The arrests made in Miami bring the total number of charges against the Tates to 59. The UK's Crown Prosecution Service said it filed the new charges after identifying 4 additional victims. Andrew Tate, 39, faces 7 further counts of rape along with sex trafficking charges, while Tristan Tate, 38, faces 2 counts of rape and 3 counts of trafficking for sexual exploitation. Britain is seeking to extradite the brothers who hold dual U.S. and British citizenship and deny all wrongdoing. The brothers also face separate criminal proceedings in Romania, where they have been under investigation since 2022. A leather jacket belonging to Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang has been sold at auction for $960,000 US. The Tom Ford jacket drew 65 bids from 45 collectors at Sotheby's on Friday. It sold for more than 15 times its pre-sale estimate of $40,000 to $60,000. The jacket was authenticated using photo matching to footage of Huang wearing at a Foxconn event in Taipei in October 2023. Huang has worn similar leather jackets for more than a decade at Nvidia product launches and conferences. Proceeds from the sale will go to a philanthropic initiative supporting a nonprofit that organizes gatherings for people in tech, science, and culture.
Most of the central regions woke up to another rainy morning. Heavy rain has been falling across the capital area in Jeollabuk-do province and will spread to more regions as the day goes on. Central regions could see 20 to 80 millimeters of rainfall, and southern provinces could see 5 to 40 millimeters, with more breaks in the rain, which will bring hot and humid conditions. So a heat wave advisory is in place for most of southern provinces, with temperatures forecast to hover above 33 degrees Celsius this afternoon. In fact, Daegu, Gyeongju, and Gwangju will make it to 33 degrees. Seoul will be topping out at 28 degrees Celsius. The monsoon rain will continue throughout the week, and with the ground already saturated, the risk of landslides and additional flood damage remains quite high. So if you're having an early summer vacation, avoid valleys, rivers, and mountainous areas, and continue to stay aware of the weather conditions.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.